everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Today is Thursday, October the 9th, 2025. I'd like to start off by acknowledging that we are on the traditional lands of Sahoba First Nation, part of Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. And I'm going to apologize before we really get going in this agenda because I've been fighting a cold. I feel better today. But if I start up with a coughing fit, I apologize for that. And I'm sure that the two lovely ladies beside me will remind me to turn off my microphone if I do get started. Item number 3, approval of the agenda. Is there any additions or deletions as the agenda is circulated? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as circulated. Moved by Councillor Daniel Muse, seconded by Councillor Trevor Perry. The motion on the floor, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. You know, I wouldn't be me if I didn't almost make a mistake right at the very beginning. Item number 4, if there's any declarations of conflict of interest, please notify me and I'll make sure your conflict is recorded by our recording secretary, Jenny, and please step away from the table. Item number 5, approval of the minutes. The Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of September 11th, 2025. Is there any errors or omissions? See no one speaking. Then I declare that the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of September 11th, 2025 are approved as presented. Item number 6, presentations. We have with us Ms. Ashley Rhino, our Senior Safety Coordinator. So what I'm going to do, Ashley, is ask you to hit the red button on your microphone. I'm sure you already know the routine. As soon, and you also have a slide deck. Wow. All right, Ashley, I'll turn your mic on. You have the floor.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me back. I look forward to sharing a little bit about what senior safety has been up to for the last year. But just a quick overview before we get started. So the goal of the program remains the same, and that is to educate seniors on crime prevention, health and wellness, and to promote safe and independent living in their homes for as long as possible. So we have 4 key partnerships with the program. I am a municipal employee, and Modi fully funds our program's salary and benefit package. The municipality of the District of Argyll cost shares on the provincial funding and provides admin support to our program for the funds that are issued from the Department of Seniors and Long-Term Care. So they provide us yearly with $25,000 and $250 that is split between the 2 municipalities to help with the day-to-day expenses of the program and to support Elder Abuse Awareness Day in June. And then lastly but not least is our rural RCMP. Our offices are located in their detachment, and we have a long-standing in-kind contribution with our RCMP, and that ensures safety for not only us as coordinators, but for our clients as well. And they also offer operational support and attend calls as needed. So we've had a busy last year. These stats are going back to my last presentation with council, which September 29th of 2020. Sorry, these statistics are as of September of this year, but they go back to November of last year. So we had 304 home visits. Those home visits range from 15-20 minutes to sometimes hours long, depending on the need of the client. There's been 428 documented phone connections, phone calls that could replace a visit, building relationship with community partners, things like that. We've had 39 referrals for our municipality from varying community partners, whether it be the hospital, our mental health team, RCMP, continuing care, the individual themselves, family member, community member, they all vary. And then we fielded 14 calls for the town of Yarmouth. We did 33 Vials of Life, which is a free service we offer that provides emergency contact information if EHS 911 services have to go in place to the home. We did 17 community presentations, which is quite substantial. Most of them are on frauds and scams and program services. Some of them are partnership with other community partners. And we supported 2 NSCC student practicum placements at 5 weeks each. One of the highlights of my year for sure, and I know many of our seniors, is our 55 Plus Wellness Day. So this year we had 92 participants. We were sold out at over 100 registrations. We always expect about a 10% no-show. We had 92 show up, which is great. We had over 30 exhibitors, not only for Yarmouth County, but exhibitors that have come across the province that see the value in sharing their information with the program. We had a keynote speaker. Her name was Louisa Horn. She came and talked about downsizing, the importance of downsizing, the emotional aspect that goes to downsizing, and how it affects our wellness. And she was resoundingly popular and super well received. And then we had 2 separate breakout sessions in the afternoon with 8 different options that are listed here as well. And those are widely received as well, and mostly done on a volunteer basis. That was made possible this year by a funding grant through the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia. So they awarded us a grant back last fall, and we were able to do that Wellness Day for the 3rd year in a row. And feedback is always largely positive. In the spring of this year, we did a set of lunch and learns. There will be none for the fall of this year, but we're hoping to get back at it for next spring. These were probably our most attended lunch and learns we've seen. I've been doing it for 6 years. It happened years prior to me being here. We've seen anywhere between 50 and 70 participants per lunch and learn this year. That is in partnership with South Ohio Community Center and the lovely ladies there that really know how to make a corn chowder. So what am I seeing in the community? What are we seeing? It's a wide variety of things and in no particular order. We're seeing a lot of food and heat insecurity. I have dealt with a lot of people who have been victims of fraud and scams, especially in the last little bit, losing substantial amounts of money. Elder abuse and neglect, cognitive impairment and dementia, caregiver breakdown from caring for individuals, whether it be cognitive impairment or other various illnesses, loneliness and isolation, unsafe living conditions, limited access to services or long waits, transportation barriers, housing issues, and homelessness. So where do we go next? The home visits are and will remain the bread and butter of our program. There's nothing like being able to visibly see somebody and have a conversation with them in a place that they are most comfortable. As the name suggests, they often happen in their homes. On the off occasion that somebody is not comfortable, we will meet somewhere neutral for the first meeting, and then generally we switch to the home. We are hoping to secure funding for our Wellness Day in 2026, and there's 2 grant applications currently being worked on in hopes that we can do that. One has already been submitted, one is going to be submitted. We will continue doing community presentations and Vial of Life revamp, making sure people's vials are up to date, getting the word out there, and partnering with people on that. And we will continue to build relationships, not only with our clients, but our community partners. This is a very relational aspect, and those relationships are crucial, not only with our clients to maintain that level of trust, but with our community partners. And there is a lot of time and energy that goes into building those relationships so that the program is sustained and the client's needs are met for the duration. Other than that, if you need to get a hold of me, this is how you're going to do it. I am typically based in the Rural RCMP detachment. Catch me if you can, because I'm on the road a lot. But I'm always available by phone or email, of course, and happy to field any questions.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Chair's prerogative, I'm going to go first. On your visits over this past summer, of course, we've all been hearing the issues with the droughts and wells. Have you been seeing a lot of that?
I have several that are low, and several that are actively dry. So looking to support them the best we can through our program we've got going. I wouldn't say I have a huge percentage that I'm aware of. That doesn't mean they're not happening and I'm just not aware. But I do have a few.
Thank you. First one on the docket is Councillor Phil Mooney.
Thank you, Ashley. Good presentation. What about your interaction with the other senior safety coordinators? I know you had a very good working relationship with Peggy and Doris. It's just like how you making out with the new one, Amber and Argyle? And is there one in place yet in the town of Yarmouth, or that's online?
So Amber and I are working well together, and there's a good collaboration there. She's learning and understanding the program and settling in quite well. So that relationship continues to be good. The town has, as of I believe it's the 12th of October, has implemented their own program, and I have met with that coordinator, and she's off and running, and it looks like things are going well. Those relationships are also key, and they're important to the program, and working together is important for the longevity of the program, for sure.
Plus, the other thing when it comes to that aspect of it is you could have a family member that lives over here on the Cemetery Road, but their kids or their caregivers live in Argyle or the town of Yarmouth, right?
Absolutely.
So what point do you happen to involve like any RCMP involvement? Do you have to do that, or you give them a heads up and then they take it over?
So most RCMP involvement generally stems from a referral that has come from the RCMP.
Okay.
If for whatever reason we feel that we may be going into an unsafe situation, or there has been an unsafe situation flagged, we will bring an RCMP member with us, just for our safety and the safety of the clients. The RCMP are also involved if there's anything criminally happening, then we would automatically hand that over to the RCMP, because we aren't RCMP officers, so we don't want to handle that. We let them do that and then move back to a supporting role if needed.
Okay, good. I don't want to be like Trevor Cunningham and take all the time. Can I ask you another question?
Sure.
So the funding opportunities, you're talking about the Lunch and Learns, and you're applying for some funding. Where do you apply?
So the funding opportunities right now that we're applying for are for the Wellness Day specifically. We're looking at the age-friendly community grants through the province, and we're also looking at the New Horizons for Seniors program.
Plus, there's another couple new ones in the town of Yarmouth. There's one through Sunset Terrace. They have a fund there that they're dispersing some money in the community, especially when it comes to senior safety and senior programs. And talk to Mary Eldridge with the Yarmouth Community Fund.
Awesome.
There's not a big amount of money, but enough to cover one of those sessions.
Amazing. Thank
Good.
you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. The next one on the docket would be Councillor Jim Baxter.
Thank you, Warden. Thank you, Ashley. Very good presentation. Two questions. Who would be the ideal candidate for a home visit? And on top of that one, I might as well ask them both, how would a home visit be arranged?
So anybody can request a home visit. That's never an issue. And they can do that by calling the office, whether it be the individual requesting the visit or somebody on their behalf. Generally, we're looking at somebody who may be falling victim to a fraud or scam, that may be a little support through that. Maybe they're concerned of elder abuse. Maybe they need some services and they don't know where to go. So they need help navigating those services. Or maybe they're just really stuck and don't know what to do. And they're feeling lonely and isolated. And we can certainly, pop in and see how they're doing and and see if there's anything we can do to help.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham.
So now for some substantive questions after Councillor Mooney's questions. So, sorry. Yeah, no, a fantastic presentation, and I'm really impressed with the 304 home visits and the 428 phone connections. So I'm assuming that those pieces are just what you say they are. They're those, they help with the mental health, they help with well-being and all those types of things. I mean, there's obviously you indicated there's a whole bunch of things that are going on in those conversations. So that's great, and it's a really, really worthy program for a segment or a population that really needs the support. So thank you. I know you do a great job, and I know you really have passion for it, because I can see it, in how you talk about it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, very much, Deputy Warden. Neither one of you went over your time, so I don't understand what's going on here tonight. You in a hurry to go somewhere, or? Wait for Mark. He did say substantive question, but there was no question in there, so. Councillor Lorne Cushion.
Thank you, Mr. Warden, and I definitely won't go over my time. Ashley, great job that you're doing. My wife and I attended a couple of those lunch and learns just to see what was going on. Believe it or not, I am a senior, and very well attended. And your guest speakers that you have, very knowledgeable and very interactive with the seniors that are there. So, a great job, and keep it up. And I know there's a lady in my district that depends on you a lot too. So, good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
One final question for me, Ashley, in regards to, you were talking about the 55 games, and you're the senior safety coordinator. Some people consider seniors to be 65 and some 55 and any number in between. So what would be considered a senior through the programs that you run?
So what Lauren said, we typically look at 55 and over is what we typically service.
Okay, so that means the vast majority sitting around this council table would,
Speak for yourself.
Okay, the majority, I will say that. Thank you very much, Ashley, appreciate it. I see no more questions on the floor, and I want to get moving on because they seem to be getting a little bit out of hand.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ash. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Yes, that's right.
Happy birthday
To you, happy
So now he gets lots of questions. Thank you very much. I guess Mark, she'll speak to you offline about that probably.
All right, thank you very much, Ashley. Item 6.2, Mark Blend, the Community and Economic Development Officer. I believe the microphone's still on, so as soon as you're ready, you can have the floor, Mark.
Hello, everybody. I kind of feel like Chuck Berry going on after Jerry Lee Lewis after he set the piano on fire. I do have blue suede shoes, though, for the occasion. So I do believe I bored the majority of you folks about a year ago. So I was told I should keep it light. So I did, but I think it's super light. But we'll take a look. So I just press this right here, this guy.
Yep.
So some of the things I'm working on, obviously this isn't inclusive, but Cape for Shoe is always in our forefront. It's our premier tourist attraction, and we like to make sure that it's humming and being the best it can be. We continue our discussions with our funding partners every chance we get, and we continue to align with the Cape for Shoe master plan. I do believe everyone's familiar with that. We had that commissioned, I think in, it was maybe about 4 years ago or so, around 2021 or 22, I believe. Right now, we have a wayfinding initiative. We've got a bunch of, actually, I'm sure you folks saw the signage here in the recreational complex. We did that, had that installed. That's part of the initiative. We we were partners with the, sorry about that. We partnered with the province on that. And we have some signs for Sanford Drawbridge, about 13 of those. 2 for both boat launches. One's on Doctors Lake and the other Salmon Lake boat launch. I believe that's on the Mood Road. Yeah, thank you. And also the trail in back of the Arcadia School. There's 2 signs for that as well. And Cape for Shoe, I believe there's 10 signs. There were some existing ones, and we had a conversation with Nova Scotia Public Works, and we were able to get them to Jimmy one of their signs at the end of the 101, so it saved us from having to put one there. Veteran banner program and community banners. You might see, I think they were telling me they were in South Ohio today. I could be wrong on that account. Maybe it was Arcadia, but they're starting to put up the veteran banners. We only had one new submission this year. And this is year 4. So that means that the folks that started this banner program 3 years ago, they would have had the option of re-upping or taking their banner and putting it wherever they like. But we gave them the option to renew for another 3 years free of charge. And I can say all but 2 took us up on that. Those other 2 folks, they understandably, they want to keep them themselves and put it in their garden so they could enjoy it. And we did one for a lady in the town as well, and she kept hers in her garden. So it's very well received. Everyone likes it. So the community banners, we have 80 summer banners. We're not going to do the winter banners anymore. Port Maitland, man, oh man. I mean, I don't even know if there's a wind tunnel that can do it justice, but it just tore those banners to pieces, and we tried and tried a whole bunch of different ways to rig them to the poles, to no avail. So it just doesn't make sense to do so. So once the veteran banners come down, there will be no banners on the pole till the spring, and then we'll put the summer banners on. I do some work with the Nova West Regional Business Park. The website is launched. It's out there. There's the link. Phase 2 is underway. So I'm working with the team on promoting that, doing some promotion and marketing for it. Have a couple new taglines. They'll maybe be displayed at the Yarmouth Area Chamber of Commerce. And yes, and we're looking to position it in the business park in the appropriate channels. And yay, 4.5 acres of Phase 2 has been sold, so that's good news. We also have a Google presence for the business park. Most of the time, they're wanting directions to it, but we can build upon that. And actually, I'll talk to Neil McKenzie of Yasta how to better prepare that site. Some other things I'm working on, the grants, 41 were awarded, 4 bursaries. So we get the usual folks and organizations that apply, but every now and again we get, I'd say roughly around 10 or 15 different folks, and it rotates. Sometimes they go away and they come back. It's well received. There hasn't been any issues that I can think of. Yeah, so, and this is, I don't know what year this is that I've been doing it, but it seems to be getting easier and easier, so, yeah. Sorry? Oh, okay, all right. Point taken. So the bursary intake is January the 1st to April 30th, every fiscal, and the grant intake is January 1st to April 15th. So this is a new file for me, Heritage Incentive Program. That helps maintain our community infrastructure, I like to call it. This is the last year of a 5-year pilot program. We've got 10 participants this year, and to date, a little over $26,000 has been granted. So, yeah, it's a help for the folks that have those heritage properties, and we get a fair bit of folks that apply, but there's a core group of about 13 or so that apply almost every year. And there are some folks that have taken full advantage of the $5,000 over the course of the 5 years, and others, $3,000 to $4,000. And then there's other folks that just haven't applied at all. This is some of the miscellaneous stuff that I do. I obviously liaise with local businesses. I helped in setting up the accommodations levy with Neil McKenzie and ORMA, Ontario Hotel and Motel Association. They're the ones that are collecting it on our behalf. And with the province, did some work with those folks to get that done. We have a list of the accommodations that are registered, and I make sure that they go to ORMA to see how they set up their portal and how they can remit. And then I did some work for the illustrious Greg Shea on the Yarmouth Airport. We were able to secure some funding from Can Export again this year for $37,000. That's good. I was working on the one-time tax rebate program. That was a lot of work. I mean, it was rewarding, don't get me wrong, but it was a lot of work. And folks seem to be very pleased with the program. I'm the guy who orders the swag, so if you have any ideas of what you folks would consider good swag, let me know, and we can have that discussion. And we put 2 teams into the J-Strong tournament. Everyone has fun every time they go. It's a great event. It's a great opportunity to get out and meet folks in the community, and this year was no exception. It was fantastic. Small Business Week is coming up the week of the 20th, October the 20th. And we did a lot of work during Congrès Mondial, myself and Jenny and a couple other folks, and I think that's about it. Yep, and that's how you can get a hold of me, right there. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Mark. See who's first. Deputy Warden.
Mark, I think I've heard this before, but I can't remember the numbers. So there's 4.5 acres has been sold of the expansion
Right.
of the park. How much land was there in total?
Yeah, that's a
generated?
good question, and I'm not sure I have the proper answer. I believe we had 12 to begin with, and then we had to rejig the road, and so those numbers I'm not sure of. I think it was at 10 acres. So
half-ish.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
And just noticing, I clicked on the link, and it's time for a new, once it's finished, we'll have to get a new drone shot. It doesn't show the new.
Correct.
The new piece, so.
No,
yeah,
you're right, 100% correct.
That's fantastic. Great.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. So, all
Thank you.
positive, and the paving started.
Oh, yeah,
so
thank
that's great.
goodness, yeah. It's hard to sell wood lots. It's easier to sell developed land, for
Yeah,
sure.
I walked it, and it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
So
Good.
that's a big bonus for us and our ability
Yeah.
to have more commercial assessment. So that's what we need.
And hats off to Danny Jackson and the team, because they did a good job project managing that.
Great. Thanks
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mark. Next one would be Councillor Daniel Muse.
Thank you, Mark, for the presentation. It was a good presentation. I just want to mention that the veteran banner program, that's awesome. When I drive through Arcadia and see all the veterans there, it's a really great thing to see. The boat launch and Sanford Drawbridge signs, when should we see those appearing?
So we did it in a phased approach. We did these signs here first. It was the low-hanging fruit, easy to get done, so it is. And then we'll be issuing an RFP for the other work, so hopefully soon, yeah.
All right. And the J-Strong tournament was actually a fun day.
Yes.
I think you gave away a few balls, not as many as you would probably would have liked to, but all you had to do was land on the green, but that was difficult, I think, for some.
Listen.
Right, Jenny?
But I love it. I love it. It gives, I'm about one of the only people that get to talk to absolutely everybody that goes by.
Yeah.
And you can't pay for that. Well, yes, you can. It's a box of balls. That's it. Yeah.
It was a lot of fun, thank you.
Yeah. The Veteran Banner Program, I've said it before, that's one of my most favorite things. People come in and they start telling you the history of their veterans, and it's touching. It really is, but I really enjoy doing it.
Yeah, I actually have an uncle and a cousin right outside my daughter's house through Arcadia, so it's actually right on their lawn, so it's
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, you don't appreciate the shoes?
I actually do.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Mine are not quite as suede.
Okay.
Unlike our, one of our golf teams there, they were perfectly dressed up except for their shoes.
Okay, I didn't notice that.
No, that wasn't me. Councillor Jim Baxter.
Thank you, Warden. Thank you, Mark. In the fall, I truly enjoyed going through the community grants with the group and with you. Thank you for that. I did see you missed a pretty big event
Yes,
that
I
we
did.
had at Port Maitland where
I know.
you sat with me all morning
Yes.
long explaining what Modi did. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
No, you're right. And when I saw you, I thought, oh my gosh, I forgot to put it. He's gonna rig me over the coals.
Forgot it was there,
Yeah,
but I did
rightfully so.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
That was, I liked it. It was well attended. It was good. I liked it. It was jam-packed in there, but it was good. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Councillor Mooney.
Now get rid of the softball questions like Councillor Cunningham over there is giving you. To get some insight into some of these ones. Good presentation, Mark. The wayfinding signage is where in the queue does like the Sarah Corning people in Chicago ask for some signage over there? So how do we, if we're gonna do something, how do we accommodate that in the wayfaring signage initiative?
Right, so this is year one of the Wayfair Wayfinding Initiative. I got Wayfarer on the brain. Wayfinding Initiative. If there are other places that are deemed appropriate to have signage, then that would be for you folks to decide. I do remember seeing an email a day or two ago in regards to the Sarah Corning Society, and I'll have those conversations with the team as to
Yeah,
how
I think
we
they
proceed.
looked for 4, but I think that's a conversation that we could have with those guys to move them around where they have to be. And the other ones are very impressive. What about, and you said a couple of really successful events, like the J Strong, which is a really true, a great way to generate some economic activity with our First Nation friends. A great mingler. What about, maybe to the rest of council, we have an event coming up here on the 23rd of October. We should have maybe the municipality purchase a table for that event, and that's a Chamber of Commerce Award. So I don't know, they're gonna have 4 or 5 or 600 people. How many people we have on the floor, Councilor Muse? 300, 400? Yeah, so that might be something that we should look at in the future. I know it's not in this fiscal year, but maybe next year we should look at that, is purchasing a table for the municipality, because most of the businesses that are going to be awarded are in the municipality of Yarmouth, and most of the people that work at those businesses are residents of our municipality. And the other one, and it has to do with a little economic development, is the Gardner Mills one, CAO. Where does that fit in? I know that's an economic development generator. Just how does that, are we going to have a meeting, or is there going to be a reach out to the residents that are affected by that?
Yep, so there's a meeting on my calendar for me to meet with the group and go over the local improvement bylaw and explain how that program works and build out a project from there. And there is public engagement required through the bylaw.
Is there, so I think at one time, did we say there might have been 41?
I think that was the number.
41, so how many, is it like straight 50% plus one, or how does that work? Or is there, in the bylaw, there's a mechanism for that?
2/3.
2/3, okay. Okay, very good. Mark, thank you. I know economic development's a hard one. You have to cast out a lot of lines. Sometimes you don't get any fish, but I think you're doing a great job, and anytime I've talked to you, I've come away more than satisfied. Thank you.
Seeing no more questions, thank you very much, Mark. They seem to go easier on you than they did Ashley, but.
Yes, they did.
Do you have a birthday anniversary that we could sing for you today?
No, I'm a July guy.
Well, you're a July guy, so we missed you.
But I am a senior citizen. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Happy Thanksgiving.
I forgot that it was Thanksgiving.
All right, moving on. Item 7.1, correspondence for action. The YCMHS Remembrance Day ceremony that's taking place on the 6th of November at 10 o'clock.
We just, yep, so we have to RSVP for that so that the organizers can plan. So if you could just pop Jenny off an email if you're planning to go, then we'll make sure we notify the organizers.
That's the week of the NSFM, is it not?
Yep.
So who's not going to the NSFM? I am. Deputy Warden is, I know for sure. Councillor Mooney.
I won't be going to the NSFM.
All right, so if someone's available, please let Jenny know, and we'll send off that RSVP.
We
I'll-
just do November 3rd, so we got time.
All right, moving on. Item 7.2, items for information. 7.2.1, Department of Energy Management Operations Teams, and 7.2.2, the Nova Scotia Fire and Associated Service Government Study 2025, Bill number 158. That's in your packages for information. Seeing no comments, we'll move on to old business. 8.1, Municipal Elected Official Code of Conduct Investigator. Madam CEO?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So when the Code of Conduct for Elected Officials came into force with the province of Nova Scotia, the Association of Municipal Administrators was in the middle of a process to develop a list of pre-qualified firms who could deliver investigation services. So at that time, council was required to name an investigator to be compliant with the legislation, but the intent was to revisit that list with the AMANs and make a permanent or at least a more permanent determination on who would be the investigator for the municipality of Yarmouth if there were code questions. So in addition to that, council had decided to name the existing municipal solicitor, and there is a conflict of interest piece there. So generally, municipalities are not naming their municipal solicitor. They're using a separate firm for this service. So I just need a mandate from council to go through. There are 10 firms in the pre-qualified list, and I just need a mandate from council to undertake the work to kind of shortlist that for council. What some of the municipalities have done in terms of a process, because essentially the procurement is done and council can just pick from it. But there's got to be a way to kind of do an evaluation on the 10 that are there. So what some municipalities have done is they've used a financial metric along with specialties in areas where that municipality generally might see things like conflict of interest, human resource, that sort of thing. So ideally for me, I have no problem making a recommendation to council, but it might be great if a couple of elected officials could work with me on that process and we could make a joint recommendation to council.
Councillor Mooney.
Since CAO, thank you, Mr. Chair. We're probably better off going outside the municipal boundaries on this one, right? Because everybody's interconnected within Yarmouth County.
Yep. So on the 10, I don't think any of them would be in Yarmouth County anyway.
Okay.
Their addresses aren't in Yarmouth County.
We got a list of I looked through this, but we have a list of the,
I don't think you have it in your package,
Okay.
Councillor Mooney. Yeah, so there are 10 listed. I think maybe I can create a process and bring a small steering committee together in a couple of hours and go through the 10 vendors, and we can develop a request for decision for council. So I guess what I'd be looking for, Mr. Chair, would be a recommendation to council at the end of October, naming 2 individuals to work with me and bring something back in November.
Someone willing to make that?
I'll make that a motion
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Moved by Councillor Phil Mooney. Do I have a seconder? Second by Councillor Lauren Cushion. Discussion on that? I have no discussion on it, but I do have one comment. I think it's good, Councillor Mooney, that you mentioned someone from outside of the municipal area. Unfortunately, a few years back, I was involved in a situation where we had to apply a code of conduct, and our municipal solicitor at the time went through that. That was very problematic, is the best word that I can find for that, and it was very uncomfortable. So someone who doesn't have any skin in the game in the area and stuff like that, and doesn't really know anybody, I think would be a much better choice, especially when it comes to that when you're,
And no repercussions coming.
yeah, exactly. So any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
Motion to-
So we need the two names appointed, Mr. Chair.
Sure?
I'll make a motion that the warden and deputy warden be involved in the process for the decision for municipal code of conduct.
Okay, motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushion?
And that's a recommendation to council.
Yeah, that's a recommendation to council, correct. Any discussion on that? Do you have any trouble with that? Deputy Warden, I don't, yep. So I think that we could gear that up pretty quick some afternoon. All right, any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously, thank you. Any more on that one? I don't believe. Item number 9, new business, 9.1, dry hydrant request.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So council, in your package is a request from the Port Maitland Fire Department requesting council install a dry hydrant. I added a photograph to your package, so if you can go online, there is a well near Hector Street, I believe it is, in Port Maitland that has like a stainless steel corrugated cover. And the fire department would like to have a dry hydrant attached to that so that they don't have to drop hoses down in it. They can just draw from the dry hydrant. I did, so the dry hydrant asset class has been around a long time. And so I did some digging around in our records to try to figure out how was the asset class stood up, who paid for what, who had responsibilities for what were the roles and responsibilities. There's very little documentation. So I called my predecessor, the former CAO, and asked for a little history lesson. And he told me that it was his predecessor that stood up the asset class. So you can imagine the difference in documentation between the days of Mr. Scott and today. So long story short, there's no documentation. But we think what happened was that the municipality did lead the installation of the dry hydrants at the time. And then there was no documentation for handover agreements or maintenance agreements. So, and other municipalities around the province do look after the installation of dry hydrants, on the caveat that they then become the responsibility of the fire department in that area, and they have to look after it moving forward. So, there is money involved and there's no budget for it. So if council would like to take a peek at it, then we can probably think about providing for it in the next operating budget.
A little bit to say, but others have started up their microphones first. Councillor Phil Mooney.
Victoria, so probably, I have no problem with the request from the fire department, but could you do, if we're gonna do that, next fiscal budget, could you have something in place with what you're talking about the procedures and all the other things? Could you do those coinciding?
Sure can, yep. So handover agreements and maintenance agreements, I'm thinking about a policy would be helpful because there's legacy issues. And I'm also mindful of the fire service review that was just completed. I know that the Department of Emergency Management is definitely doing a complete reset on the training for the fire service, and there are going to be major changes to governance around fire service. And at the end of the day, I think municipalities are going to have to accept a little more operational and governance responsibility, so this is just gonna feed kind of right into that. But I absolutely can bring forward probably a policy on the installation of dry hydrants, which might include, you know, an appendix that has a handover agreement and a maintenance agreement.
Do you know, how many do we have in the municipality now? Is that a good question?
It's a good question, and it's a fair question. What we discovered when we got the request from Port Maitland was our data set that we currently have that shows the dry hydrants is unreliable. So we actually did a site visit in Port Maitland because the fire chief indicated that there was one dry hydrant in Port Maitland. I showed 4 on the data set. There is one.
There's one?
Yep, so I hesitate to give a number because it's unreliable data. What we're gonna do is, I spoke with the asset management coordinator today about this, and we're doing a visual verification on the streetlight asset class right now. Where are they? Do they work? Blah, blah, blah. And we're gonna do the same thing with the dry hydrants. We're gonna need to do it anyway as we move through the changes in the fire service governance and modeling. So that'll be a project that Danny will lead probably next fiscal year. So that's not really answering your question, but it explains why I'm not answering it.
Councillor Jim Baxter.
Thank you, Warden. Just a bit of background on this request. This request came to me in August, mid-August, and late August, Jeff Hodgson, the Secretary and Treasurer of the Port Maitland Fire Hall, took me, I asked him because I didn't understand what he was asking for, so I said, can you show me where this well is in Port Maitland, where this dry hydrant is? What exactly are you asking for? It's not making a lot of sense to me. So he did take me, first we started at the corner of Port Maitland where the store was, Shore Grocery. Right across the road from that, there is a stainless steel cover, which is, heaven knows, there was a well under there. I had no idea there was a well under there. But the cover is on the ground, literally on the ground, and the lock is underneath the cover. And it's a padlock, so in order to get to that padlock, you gotta be on your hands and knees, fiddling around with the cover, trying to hold it up and get your key into a lock that you can't see.
In the dark at night with something on fire.
In the dark, and if you got snow on top of that, or dirt, or anything, it's nearly impossible to do in the sunlight on a good day. So he told me that we do have one dry hydrant for access of the Port Maitland Fire Hall. Okay, well, where is it? It's on Allen's Lake. Okay, well, where's Allen's Lake? It's not in Port Maitland. It's in Darlings Lake. It's 5 kilometers from the fire station. Now, my house is probably 3/4 of a kilometer from the fire station. If I called the firemen and they had to go to Darlings Lake to get water to put my house out, it's going to be gone. And that's, right now, is the only access, and that's why they're asking for this. The well is there. Just the difficulty in opening it, and then the danger of when they drop a line in, is the line actually going to drop in the well and they're going to lose their line. Looking at the dry hydrant in Darlings Lake, it doesn't look like a complicated piece of machinery. It would cost some money to put one on, but the access is, it's at waist height. They just pull off the connection, hook their hose up, and they're good to go, which would be so much easier. But that's just a bit of a background on the request. And I live in Port Maitland, so for me, for sure, it's an absolute yes. But so I'd like to make a motion that we install a dry, we move to council through the budget process and assess installing a dry hydrant in Port Maitland. I don't know how to word it.
Yeah, no, that, if I can, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go
Yeah,
ahead.
so if council wants to make the commitment now, then the recommendation to council can be that we commit to funding the installation of the dry hydrant as requested by the Port Maitland Volunteer Fire Department in the 26-27 operating budget.
As said.
Motion on the floor by Councillor Jim Baxter, seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushing. Yes, I did. Next one on the docket would be Deputy Warden.
So I agree with the motion, I agree with funding for the reasons Councillor Baxter has indicated. But on top of that, we did talk about the process and that type of thing around, it's not just the money piece, it's also the process around and the documentation around the installation of that dry hydrant. So it would be good if we could. Yeah, I'll make a motion to.
There's already a motion on the floor.
No, to amend.
Okay, you're making a motion amendment.
Yeah, making a motion to amend the motion by adding that that staff concurrently looks at documentation to support the installation of the dry hydrant, i.e. An agreement with the fire department about how the move forward takes place, including things like decommissioning and all those pieces that are germane to the agreement.
Okay, amendment's been made. Do I have a seconder on the amendment? Second by Councillor Phil Mooney. Discussion on the amendment?
And
You still have the floor.
yes. And if you read, I did just a quick cursory read of the Nova Scotian Associated Services Governance Studies 2025, Bill 158. So they're going to bring all of the legislation. There's a whole bunch of pieces of legislation, not pieces of legislation, a whole bunch of legislation that is pieced together to sort of govern fire services in Nova Scotia currently. That's really problematic, obviously, and they state that in the report. So it's going to come all under one act, that's my understanding. And I just wanted to ask the CEO in terms of timing with this whole piece, and this is just one piece, obviously, the dry hydrant, but it's one piece that we've got to move forward with. What's your thinking about when they would adopt that legislation or have that legislation in place, that singular act governing the fire service?
So it's my understanding, just before the legislature rose, there was a bill tabled and I believe passed around the fire service review. And the commitment is that there will be 6 months worth of engagement with the Fire Service Association of Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities, and Association of Municipal Administrators and municipalities around kind of what was in the report and trying to figure out the best way forward. I expect legislation in the spring.
Councillor Lauren Cushing.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. The well up in Port Mainland, do they know how much water is in there? Like, is it, I wonder if we're running the same kind of problem as people around with dry wells.
I don't know if I can turn just him on to answer that question. But
I think we can have two at a time.
yeah, go ahead, Councillor Baxter.
Oh, there we go. Not for sure, but talking to the fire chief and the treasurer, they said that easily, it has never gone dry that they know of, and it would easily fill a tanker, and they would not worry. They both, our fire station, when they need to access it, uses it. It becomes difficult when there's a mutual aid call and the other fire stations have to get in there too. But it sounds like it's a fairly big well under there.
Councillor Daniel Muse.
I guess that was similar to my question. I was wondering, is this a drilled well or is this a dug well? Dug well. And my other question, I guess, not to be funny, but is it dry? Do we know that? And do we know how many gallons per minute are coming in there? Like there's a lot of questions to ask about this well. Is it going to be, we pull the water out of there and then it's dry and done? So just a few questions I have, regarding this well. It's been there forever by the sound, so nobody seems to really know much about this well because there's a lock underneath the cover, and so so nobody knows it well. So I support the motion, but I think there should be definitely some more information on this well. Is it a viable well? I mean, I know we have hearsay saying that they don't think it will go dry, but a lot of people in our community are saying my well's never gone dry, and it's dry. So if we fill a tanker and go below the water table, then is it going to come back? And I know you don't know the answers, but that's my concern, I guess.
Deputy Warden, then myself.
Yeah, so I mean, those are all questions, and I would assume that that our CEO, given the motion to move forward and given the motion to have an agreement, that may be something that she'd bake into the agreement, that, you know, it would have to be, that it would have to be have to have adequate water flow, that type of thing, in order to, yeah, in order to, so that may be something she could consider, and I'm sure if there's any problem, she'll come back to council, and we'll have another discussion if need be.
Thank you very much. I'm next. I'm not in support of the motion on the floor, and I'll give you a little bit of background. Number one, the municipality District of Yarmouth doles out both capital and operating funds for fire departments for just this sort of thing. That's my first point. We already do that, and what they do with the money is up to them. Number two, this is the first time that I've heard a request for the municipality to install a dry hydrant. Not all dry hydrants work properly, and I can say that because I'm also a member of a volunteer fire department. Number three, I don't know if dry hydrants are the answer, because there's newer technology out there, and I do know that the Carleton Fire Department has purchased a portable turbo draft dry hydrant. So that means it's portable. You can take it anywhere. Go to the closest water source without having a fixed piece of infrastructure there that needs to be maintained. I don't know if this is the right direction. I can understand the reason why they brought it forward, but if it's like the guy with the potato chip, you give one to one person, you're going to have a whole bunch of others. I do also remember a few years back that the Lake Vaughan Fire Department also asked for help for repairs of their fire department dry hydrants, because they were damaged either by snow plows or mowers or whatever other reasons. And at that time, we turned them down. So I don't necessarily agree with moving forward. I do know that this one here is a request to work on that well. There's also a lot of questions about that. I don't think this is the right solution, because as I said at the very beginning, we already supply the fire department's operational and capital funding over top of what they charge the residents for a fire rate. And I really hate to say this, I'm in favor of the dry hydrants being accessible to every fire department and knowing where they are, but I personally, from my experience, don't think this is the solution or the way to go about it. That's all I'll say. Councillor Baxter.
Just one final comment, that today, with great difficulty, the fire department is using that well, and they have been using that well as needed. So all they're looking for is a way to use it easier than they have to access it today.
Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham.
Yeah, I hear both sides of the argument, and it's good that we've had a sort of fulsome discussion about this topic. Having said that, I will be voting for the motion, and I guess part of the reason that and I hear a warden, and I think those are good series of rationales for maybe not voting for it. But having said that, I think that we're so close to the changes that are going to happen under the legislation that we'll probably get some guidance there, and that's something that our CEO we can probably follow up with the province during that consultative process. So, and so there's probably only going to be the one. I think we'll have something additionally to guide us in the future. So, we've got a request from our fire department, and I'm for those reasons, I'll support the motion.
Oh, absolutely, and I'm torn on what I had to say, because I do know a little bit about this, but at the end of the day, that there's so many different variables out there, and there's different solutions to different problems. It is what it is. I'll probably get some some lashback about what I said, but it is what it is. I hate to use that acronym or term, but any more discussion on the amendment on the floor? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Nay. Vote of 6-1, motion's carried. Please record my name. Back to the main motion. Any more discussion on the main motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Nay. A vote of 6-1, motion carried. Please record my name in that as well. Thank you very much, Council. Very good discussion on that. We don't always agree, but majority rules, correct. Item 9.2, I'm going to ask the Deputy Warden to take this item on the agenda. I need to run over.
Okay, so we've got item 9.2. It's draft amendments to the check signing policy C-02600. And there's a recommended motion there as well. Somebody want to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion to recommend to regular council that the proposed amendments to check signing policy C-026-00 be approved as presented.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a mover second. Any additional conversation about this motion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, council. And we've got our warden back, so there we go.
Thank you very much, Deputy Warden. Moving on to item 9.3, electronic signatures policy E-464-25. You all have that in your package. Councillor Phil Mooney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion to recommend to regular council that the electronic signatures policy E-464-25 be approved as presented.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daniel Muse. Discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 9.4, request for decision, the Cape Purchou caretaker salary scale. Councillor Phil Mooney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion to recommend to regular council that the municipality adopt a salary scale for the Cape Purchou caretaker as presented.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder on that motion? Seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushion. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item 9.5, the Water Supply Upgrade Lending Program Administration Fee. Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham.
I'll move that council recommend to regular council that the administration fee of $300 for the water supply upgrade lending program be waived retroactive to April 1, 2025, and be maintained in place until March 31st, 2026.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Jim Baxter. Discussion? Councillor Phil Mooney.
I got one quick question to the CAO. How many from, do we know how many from April to maybe the 1st of July that applied?
I think so far this year it's 11, but
Okay.
there are some on Emily's desk that haven't been processed.
Okay.
Yep, so it's not a huge amount of exposure.
I have a question for the CAO. There is a motion on the floor, and what we're doing is that the motion's on the floor to waive the administration fee. How could council, is it by policy that this administration fee is there through the fees policy?
Correct. So the bylaw that enables the loan program references an admin fee, but defers to the fees policy, which is where the amount is set. So if council wanted to make a permanent change, rather than opening the bylaw, they could just set the fee at 0 inside the fees policy.
Okay,
So the waiving of the fee can happen by way of motion, so that we're not outside of the policy reference.
yeah, but to make
Temporarily.
a permanent change, we would have to go in and actually change
The fees
the
policy.
fees policy,
Correct.
correct? I was just making sure of that because, the motion that's on the floor currently right now, that doesn't eliminate that in the fees policy, but in the future, if council wanted to move forward and eliminate that, we certainly could. I'm just making that crystal clear. Councillor Trevor Perry.
Question for CAO. What does that administrative fee cover? Is it just sort of anything specific or just a general overall to
The-
cover some of the expenses of doing the process?
The lion's share of the fee is to record the lien against the property and protect the receivable. That's the lion's share of it. So we would still record the liens against the property. What that means is if there's ever a situation of insolvency of the property owner, or if the property gets sold, then that lien has to be settled in some way. So it protects the interests of the municipality. So we would still file that lien. We just wouldn't recoup the cost of doing that.
So second part to that, in addition to that fee right now, what else is expected from a resident if they want to apply for that program at this point in time?
They have to fill out paperwork, they have to get the pricing, they hire the contractor, but the municipality pays the invoice. So there's actually no out-of-pocket cash to the resident under the program, especially with waiving the admin fee. But they do the work, they pick their contractor. The relationship in terms of warranties and whatnot is between the contractor and the homeowner, not the contractor and the municipality.
Thank you. Councillor Phil Mooney. All right, is there any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you very much.
Are there any public comments?
Okay, moving on to item number 10, public comments. We have none. Therefore, we,
Do you want me to speak to it?
yeah, maybe you should.
So, Mr. Chair, I'm recommending that we recess committee of the whole and convene council and deal with the planning issue before council. We have our planning staff in the room. Then, when council adjourns, we would reconvene committee of the whole to go in camera, and that just creates better flow for the public.
Oh, absolutely. I have it written here, and then I couldn't understand what I wrote. All right, so I'm gonna ask for a motion to recess the committee of the whole. Moved by Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushion. Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. If you need to use the washroom, make it quick. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Thursday, October 9th, 2025, and this is a regular council meeting. I'd like to begin by acknowledging we're meeting on the traditional lands of Wasova First Nation, part of Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Item number 4, approval of the agenda. There's one agenda item. Is there any additions? Councillor Jim Baxter.
I have an addition to new business, and it would be sponsor for Westminster Kennel Club 150th anniversary competition.
Westminster
I know it's a mouthful.
Kennel Club. I'm just gonna put Westminster Kennel Club, items 6.2. Put your name beside it. Any other additions? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Moved by Counselor Phil Mooney, seconded by Counselor Jim Baxter. Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Okay, moving on to new declarations of conflict of interest. You all know the drill. If you find yourself in you have a declaration of conflict of interest, please notify me and I'll notify our recording secretary to make sure your name is listed. Then please separate from the table during that discussion of that item. Item number 6, new business. 6.1, recommendation from Planning Advisory Committee. And also in here, 6.1.1, the development agreement for 1033 Greenville Road Golf Simulator. We have with us our planning staff, Derek Robertson and others. So, who wants to start? Yeah, you can certainly come forward to the table and need another chair there. Just hit the red button on the microphone and I'll turn it on and you can have the floor. There you go.
Mr. Chair, would you like me to give a full presentation on the document, or
I
would you
would,
prefer I just answer
unless
questions?
council, just a brief overview, is that fine by council, or do you want a full presentation? I guess just a brief overview from what I see, consensus there, so go ahead.
Sure. Okay. So what you have before you is a draft development agreement. I know we have some new members on council who have not experienced a development agreement yet. So a development agreement is, I like to think of it as like its own mini land use bylaw that is registered directly on a property. So it gives council a lot of control of what happens on a very specific property. And the reason that we're recommending this for this specific development is because it's currently zoned industrial. And from a planning perspective, industrial land, generally speaking, it's difficult to get land zoned industrial. Council thinks very strategically, typically, about where their industrial land will be. The types of uses that use industrial land can often lead to contamination of land, so for that reason we don't typically zone backwards. We keep our stock of industrial land, and it's good for the economy because they're often large businesses that ship out, so they're an important part of your municipal planning strategy of keeping that industrial land. When we went through our municipal planning strategy review, what happened was land that was being used for industrial purposes received an industrial zoning. And previously we had something called rural development industrial, and now we no longer have that. We have general industrial. So the proponent has proposed a use that we're looking at as indoor recreation facility with an accessory licensed liquor establishment, which would fall under, because they're in a rural area, it would fall under rural commercial, basically, would make sense for their zoning. However, for the reasons that I stated before, rezoning isn't necessarily the best option here. And one of the things that came up in the past with our previous council was that we had an application for a hair salon, and a lady wanted to rezone her property to rural commercial, and her neighbors were quite concerned when we notified them, because while they were totally okay with the hair salon use, they were concerned about the fact that rezoning it to rural commercial meant that all commercial uses could become a possibility on that property. So for that reason, when we did our municipal planning strategy review, we put in a policy within the MPS that's 6.4.3, which you'll notice is referenced right in the motion here. And that is how we've recommended moving forward with this application, just so that the property maintains all its industrial rights. We're giving them additional rights by allowing them to operate this indoor recreation facility and the liquor establishment but council has that control, and the neighbors know that that's the only thing that would happen on that property beyond what's already permitted there. So the, we have you have a draft development agreement in front of you. This agreement, how it works is I work with an applicant, I go back and forth and I represent council and I talk to the applicant, I get a good understanding of what they want. I have an understanding of what council wants and sees in the future based on what your statements are in your municipal planning strategy. And that's how I come up with a draft development agreement. And should council wish to enter in this agreement with the property owner, then it'll be registered on the property. This process does require a public hearing, so we will have to notify neighbors. I just am looking because I would love to give you just some quick highlights of the development agreement. I want to see which part of it it's in here. I apologize, I'm missing the section.
You certainly can.
So Caroline, so with the development agreement, that takes that process of going backwards off the table, right? So, okay. Caroline taught me almost everything I know about planning, so. If there's anything off base, you can blame her.
Derek, could you hit your red button on that microphone again, please? It went out. Either gremlins or I wasn't paying attention what button I was hitting. Blame it on the latter.
Here, page 17 of the actual document, not the PDF.
Okay, perfect. I apologize for that delay. Okay, so the highlights of the development agreement, just so council understands what's written in this document, and hopefully you've reviewed it. Basically, the first thing I did was there's two parcels that are basically interacting. They're next to each other, and there is a residential home in an area that's zoned industrial, which is currently non-conforming. So the first thing I did was look at how those two parcels interacted and decided it made a lot of sense since they have a shared driveway and that home is non-conforming to include it in, and it's all owned by the same property owner, to include it in the to include both parcels in the development agreement. So the permitted uses that we're allowing are an indoor recreation facility, which is how we're going to define the golf simulators. The establishment of a licensed liquor establishment as an accessory use. And I will say the applicant is calling it a light liquor license because their intention is to serve snacks, and with that process, with the province when applying for their liquor license, it is different when you're serving snacks versus food versus nothing at all. For the purposes of council, you simply define if they're serving liquor, we call it a licensed liquor establishment. So that's what that accessory use is. And then the continuation of all other permitted uses in the general industrial zone. And that's because they do intend to continue with that contractor's office or a contractor's use that is on the property. They do plan to continue to park their commercial vehicles behind the new building that will be it's an existing building with an extension on it that will be used for the indoor recreation use. And then they're going to move the office into the house. So it just kind of made sense to allow it all between the two properties. And then a formal recognition of that existing non-conforming dwelling. So I've allowed one residential dwelling to occur on that property, and that'll solve that non-conforming issue. From an environmental perspective, the site was a service garage, and as I mentioned, they are already working on an addition, and they have broken ground on that, as you can tell from my pictures at the start of my report. So we are recommending a Phase 1 environmental site assessment by a qualified professional, which is a regulated process with the provincial government. So the idea would be to do an assessment of potential contamination under the contamination sites regulations, identification of risks to human health and the environment based on the proposed use. And then we would require that compliance with all applicable environmental regulations with a remedial action plan, if there was anything required out of that process, that be completed before the use become active. We have parking and site assessment. I spent a long time trying to figure out how much parking this type of use would need. They are going to have 3 golf simulators and a little bar area where they're going to sell snacks, so there'll probably be 1 employee on staff at all times. I wrote in a minimum of 7 stable barrier-free parking spaces with proper lighting. That's because I felt that they would need at least that, and there would likely probably be overflow needed at some points, but there's a large property, and I didn't feel like it was necessary for the applicant to put in the additional funding that would be required to create those stable barrier-free parking spots with proper lighting that are typically required in our parking design process. I allowed the parking to be shared between the 2 parcels, and again, that's because there's really not a whole lot of space between the 2 properties, and if you're considering only one and looking at setbacks, then it can be difficult to put in the required parking. We put in a minimum for parking stalls. That's straight from your land use bylaw. That's what we require typically. We did put in a requirement for a stormwater management plan for the new paved surfaces. And then we're allowing that overflow parking, as I said, could be allocated elsewhere on the lot, but will not necessarily need to comply with the above requirements where it comes to it being a stable surface, barrier-free, defined curbing or vegetation and lighting. We've allowed for driveways limited to a maximum of 2, which is basically what they have now, with the following design standards: one-way minimum 3-meter width, two-way minimum 6-meter width with a maximum of 9-meter width, and we've asked that it be defined by curb or a vegetation strip, which is our standard design for driveways. We've also asked that they speak with the province to make sure that access there is still acceptable for the new use. For signage, I put in for what they have in existing. They've actually already ordered the wall sign that's going to go on the building, so I wrote for that sign. And there's already an existing freestanding sign on the property. For waste and servicing facilities, we've written in that solid waste collection storage must be provided on-site and screened from public view and adjacent dwellings. That would not include the dwelling on the property that is in existence, because that's part of the entire development. There's your approved access permit from the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure renewal. Confirmation from a qualified person that on-site sewage disposal meets the requirements for the proposed use. For landscaping and vegetation, we put natural vegetation, lawns, landscaping areas to be incorporated where feasible, and a minimum of a 3-meter vegetation buffer or approved alternative required only where the site abuts non-industrial or residential zone lands to screen commercial industrial uses. And there's one property where there's a short area where there's a home that could be within view that they'll need to do some screening for. We've also required a lighting plan. Again, this is a standard part of your land use bylaw, and I just wrote it in accordance to section 5.4.4 of your land use bylaw. So lighting must ensure visibility for entrances, parking, and pedestrian routes. and the fixtures must demonstrate adherence to the dark sky principles consistent with the International Dark Sky Association guidance and municipal policy. For the yard and setback requirements, the two pits will be treated as a single consolidated development site with no setbacks required between the parcels. However, should the development agreement ever be discharged, that would have to change, and I anticipate it would only be parking or screening that would need to be removed. Minimum setbacks from all external properties to the neighboring properties is a side yard of 3 meters and a front and rear yard of 7.6 meters, which is consistent with the commercial zone. Barrier-free access structures may encroach into setbacks. So basically, if they need to put in a ramp off to the side, which I think they might have to do something, because the side door where they do intend to bring in people with accessibility issues is on the side of the building closer to the property. I think they may need to encroach into that side yard, so that's part of why that's written in there. And that's also a standard that we do with developments in general. And then all other general industrial zoner requirements will apply unless modified by the agreement. So if there's anything that council wanted to restrict or put into the agreement, then we can do that as well. So that's the overall highlight, and I hope I didn't take too much of your time, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Caroline. Deputy Warden.
Well, I'll make a motion to move this to regular council with the following motion.
We're in regular council.
We are in regular council. Oh, my apologies, yes. Yeah, so we'll move through the process. So I'll move that whereas the proposed development agreement supports council's objective of promoting economic growth and diversifying the local economy, create long-term employment opportunities, and provide a wider range of services and amenities for residents and businesses consistent with policy 4.7.2 of the municipal planning strategy, and whereas the application is further supported by policy 6.4.3, which enables council to consider development agreements in lieu of rezoning for less intensive uses, and by the detailed analysis provided under section 6.6 general criteria and policy 6-21, where staff are satisfied that all applicable criteria have been met. For these reasons, I recommend that council, or I move that council, enter into a development agreement with the property owner to permit the establishment of an indoor recreational facility with an accessory liquor, licensed liquor establishment to be registered on both properties known as PID 903-33964 and PID 903-33972.
Okay, a motion on the floor. I have a seconder. I seen Councillor Lauren Cushion. I was looking his way. I heard you, but I seen him. All right, motion on the floor. Any discussion on that? Deputy Warden, you still have the floor?
No further discussion. I'm just guilty of keeping my line. My pub.
And 8 years
Councillor
before,
Phil
and 8 years
Moody.
before that, Caroline, when you talked about the site assessment, is that the responsibility of the owners of the property to get that done independently, or is that done by, like, the Department of Environment?
Caroline?
It's a responsibility of them to do it independently, but the process is laid out by the regulations. I forget the name of the regulations, I stated them at the beginning. There's provincial regulations on how to do an environmental site assessment, so the qualified person that they hire would follow that process and go through that.
Yeah, that has to be done through a qualified person. There's level 1, 2, and 3, I believe, unless it's changed, which they normally do sometimes, but I guess it hasn't changed in the past 10. All right, your question answered, Councilor Mooney. Any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
So, in terms of the public hearing, we'll want to schedule that as soon as the legislation allows. I think we have to give 14 clear days notice.
14 days clear notice posted. We have to notify the abutting municipalities, and then the tough one is we have to serve notice to all assessed property owners within 500 meters for rural designations. So with the Canada Post strike, that is a little harder than it should be, but I did pull the list. It's 33 properties, all but 3 are local. Of those 3 that aren't local, they're within Canada, so I think we can manage within the course of,
Yeah, so we could probably hand deliver the locals and
Yeah.
courier the
Yeah.
aways.
so I think we can manage within the course of next week to get all that done, no
Super.
issue. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Derek and Caroline. All right, moving on, the addition to the agenda. Councillor Jim Baxter, you asked, have added the Westminster Kennel Club, was it? Yeah. Councillor Baxter, you have the floor.
Thank you, Warden. First, I must apologize for the short notice on this. Normally, I would have walked through a process and informed everybody, but I was just informed of this 2 days ago, and the registration for this ends middle of November. So a resident in District 4 of Modi contacted me. Her name's Joanna Lee Parker Ross. She's a breeder, and she has chow show dogs. Like I said, she resides in District 4. The show dog that she has been invited to show at the Westminster Kennel Club show. His name is Zeus. And the Westminster Kennel Club show is a big show. I don't know if any of you have ever seen it. I see it. It's televised nationally every year, and it's not a small show. It's a big international show. So not anyone's dog can go to this show. They have to meet minimum requirements, and the minimum requirements to enter this show is they have to, at minimum, be an American Kennel Club champion. So that's a big deal in itself. This dog is already an American Kennel Club champion and a Canadian Kennel Club both champion and grand champion. The show, the event is going to be January 31st to February 6th. It's over a 7-day period. And Joanna reached out to me to ask if Modi would do anything financially to help support. So again, where she's a resident, and these international global things don't usually happen often. Unfortunately, they've happened twice to us in the last month. But this is an international event, and she will be representing us. So my motion is that I move that the municipality provide a contribution in the amount of $400 to Joanna Lee Parker Ross, who will be showing her chow Zeus in the upcoming 150th anniversary Westminster Kennel Club competition, to be held at the Madison Square Gardens in New York, starting January 31st, 2026. This sponsorship is to be funded from the 2025-2026 advertising budget.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Lauren. Question? Discussion? Councillor Baxter, you still have the floor. Any discussion on the motion on the floor? Councillor
I
Mooney.
think I had a conversation with the CAO earlier about the budget for that, which this request was gonna come out of. And from what I understand is we don't have $400 there, do we?
MCL.
We don't. So we operated outside of our policy framework and made a donation to a private citizen last month. And it was an unplanned expense that came out of the advertising budget, which has put pressure on the advertising budget. It is highly atypical to make financial contributions to individuals who are attending an event like this, and this is what happens when we operate outside of our policy framework.
And how much do we have left in the budget?
I would have to look, I didn't know about this ask, so I didn't come prepared. I think there's time,
I think, yeah, the only,
there's time.
Well, the registration is mid-November, I think.
Yep, so council meets again on the 22nd of October, so we,
Council could defer, table the motion until such time, until the next regular council meeting, if council so chooses. Or they can just move ahead with the motion on the floor and vote it out, whatever council decides to do.
or approve it, Mr. Chair, and we overspend in advertising.
So, what is the pleasure of council? Councilor Mooney, you still have the
No,
floor.
I'm sorry.
I know you're thinking. Your time is also taken up, like your 5 minutes is while you're thinking, so. Remember, you guys started this, not me. Deputy Warden?
So we talked about this last time with Brian, with Mr. Bowers, and it's atypical, and this is the second time, and maybe this is part of something that we'll see more often, but, given that we approved that, and, it is a relatively small amount, although it's conceptually, I know the warden had some, was found a little bit problematic in, last time round, and that's all right, because there's different ways of thinking about this. But my thoughts about this one is that, because it's a small amount, I'm gonna vote in the affirmative rather than tabling the motion, because I think it will take up a lot of council's time. But I do think we need to have a policy around this, because, this is two instances, and I think given the significance of these events, but lots of people are going to lots of events on, and I understand the rationale for doing it, and we'll vote in the affirmative, but I think we do need to think a little bit more deeply about this, so perhaps the CEO can go back after this and look at what other municipalities are doing and how we're handling this, because, a couple, and this is outside the grants process and all this type of thing, so we'll get some advice from our CEO moving forward, but this is sort of the second instance of this, and they're all good things. So I'll vote in the affirmative. We approved one just last council meeting, so it's pretty tough not to do the same thing without having any conversation, and I understand why we may want to table it, but I'm not in favor of tabling at this juncture. We didn't table the last one, so I think we do need to, though, have some guidelines or guardrails put in around this for the future, so that'd be my comment.
Any more discussion on the motion on the floor? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Nay. Vote of 6-1, motion carried. MCO?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to have a motion to receive the direction to do a policy analysis on that for council.
Councillor Jim Baxter? Oh, sorry. Someone had their mic on before you, but now it's lit. Go ahead, Councillor Jim Baxter.
Now I forgot what I was gonna say. I move that we do a policy review, or we direct CAO to do a policy review, regarding this.
Okay, a motion on the floor. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Deputy Warden Trevor Cunningham. Discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Public comments? Any public comments? No in camera. Therefore, that's the end of the agenda. I call this meeting closed.